What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens episode review. Today, guys, we are going to be going over episode 21 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. Man, 21 episodes already, dude. This series is flying by pretty quickly, dude. And today, we are going to be going over this episode, which contains the duel between Metsuboro and Sorako, I believe is what her name was. This alien ramen duelist. Yeah, this is going to be a wacky episode, so without further ado, guys, let's get right into the review. So, what did I think of this episode? I will say, though, I was pretty surprised at this episode. I don't think this was a bad episode at all. I think it had some pretty cool moments in this episode. I will say, though, closer to the end, I will kind of say a little bit of a disappointment that I kind of had. Was not a big disappointment, but I don't know. It's something that I kind of wish was done just a slight bit different. But let's get into it. So this episode, it starts off with the group all together. They are at Yuga's lab right now, and everyone now notices that they got a penalty. If you remember in the last episode, Mimi got them the first penalty. They ended up getting it because Mimi lost a duel and she was technically part of Yuga's team. They kind of discussed how, they now have to be careful with how they duel, because if they lose 5 more times, it's over. They are not Their counts are gonna get deleted, and their dreams are Yuga and Rook's dream is dead basically at this point. Even Metsuboro's dream of creating ramen dueling will be basically destroyed. And that was very interesting that they touched on that. When I talk about it in the end, that's gonna have some disappointment, I will say, to it. But when we go into underground, because that's the weird thing too, is that these holes are everywhere, because even in Yuga's lab a hole opens up. Gakuto, Rook, and Yuga fall into it. Roman almost falls in it. Metsuboro catches her, but they end up falling anyways, and that's why the 5 of them are now together. They're walking through the Garden of Providence trying to look for heaven, I guess is what they're going to be calling it now, which I guess it kind of makes sense the way they've been trying to build up Neil. It makes sense how they were doing this. And then when they were in the hallway, they run into Advisor M. And I will just say, though, like, I was very surprised at this, because we all know this is Mimi. I mean, not only did the summary already say that Advisor M is the same voice as Mimi, and just the way she was talking to them, this is clearly Mimi. Even Yugo, Gakuto, and Roman says, like, okay, they know it's her. And Rook, they're making Rook dumber and dumber as the show goes on, I swear, because Rook does not know who this Advisor M is. I love Rook. Rook is still my favorite character, but I love how he's kind of like just the ditz of this group. I really do love that. But she kind of, and that's why I see Mimi is gonna have the rest of the role. And I honestly didn't think we would see Mimi at all until I had read the summary, because she left with her son after that episode, and it didn't seem like we would be seeing them again. Especially since now they know that Mimi is this 37-year-old woman that was pretending to be a 7th grader to try to steal. Well, they don't know the purpose, they just know she works for Gohan now, which I think Yuga could pretty much figure it out, which, man, I'm loving Yuga. I think Yuga's been a pretty good protagonist so far. But they're going through the Providence, and they actually find this ramen shop, and they just see a whole bunch of Gohan employees in line getting ready to get their ramen. Metsuboro immediately jumps into the line when they were told it was a ramen restaurant. He's in line. They all go down. And then when they get into the restaurant, they meet Sorako, who is the manager, the owner of that ramen restaurant, which is also an alien. Now, I will say, though, they did confuse me at first, because through this entire episode, I believed Sorako was a robot. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. When they kind of like showed them like the her life gauge meter on her, it kind of explained like if her life points become 0, like she's done for basically. I was very surprised. I was like, "Oh shoot, this just got dark," because basically this is like her life points during the duel is like her lifeline. If she lost, she was in trouble, and that was very concerning, I will say, though. But what made me think of her a robot because she kept going beep boop beep boop 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 boop. I mean, yeah, I guess some alien shows do that, but not. I didn't really. It really made it look more a robot, and we find out that she actually is an alien at the end of the episode, which Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens is managed. I think is managing to be more weird than the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I will argue that. I mean, yes, in GX we had like a dueling monkey, and we had this guy that acted like a Tarzan to get the perfect draw, to get the perfect egg witch. Yeah, GX was a trip, I will say. Though we even had like the tennis duel, like we had some pretty weird duels in GX. But this one is we went from Schrodinger's cat to rip off Elvis Presley, Johnny Bravo, whatever you want to call that. You have chair dueling. You have the Apocalyptic World arc deck versus the 1980s basically deck, and then now we have this ramen loving alien girl that can make almost basically the perfect ramen, as all these kids eat it and they basically love the ramen. They fall in love with it. Then she challenges to a duel because she is part of Neil's team, and Metsuboro decides to take the stands in this. And the duel I thought was pretty interesting. I will say that the music was pretty good in this. I haven't really talked about the music in the show. I think the music has been pretty good throughout the series, and I think the piano vibe did mix. It fit pretty well in this episode, I would say. And what I liked about it was like there was a kind of a conflict with Metsuboro during the duel when Soraka went on the offensive after her turn because she only set monsters her first turn. Metsuboro got his ace monster right on his first turn, was able to destroy only one of the face dams, I think even was able to deal damage, and that's when we learned about her life gauge meter on her chest. And or I think it was somewhere on the chest. I do not remember where it was at, but when she was wait, where was I almost lost my train of thought there. Excuse me, I just like jumping all over the place in this episode for this review. But anyway, Metsuboro was kind of having a conflict because he realized during her turn that this is basically a life or death duel for her in a sense, and he took the first attack like a champ, and then she goes getting ready for a second attack, and Yuga decides to intervene and basically tells him to lose the duel. Everyone is in shock. Even me watching this episode live, I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you telling?" Well, when I didn't know this, but when I watched it in subs, I didn't understand what it was going on. What Yuga, it was I thought it was something dumb, but when Yuga said basically to lose the duel, I was very surprised. But like, it was like him kind of like telling Metsuboro to kind of find his own path of what he believes is right, and which I did really like. This show is really making me like the protagonist. Now I will say though, shows there has, I think the only anime out of all the Yu-Gi-Oh shows where I would say my favorite character was the protagonist. The only show so far I can think of at the top of my head was Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. I think Yusei was my favorite character of that show. So it's very interesting that Yuga is my second favorite right now. He's past Roa in terms of me being favorite. It used to be Rook, Roa, Yuga, and then so on and so forth. Now Yuga has passed him and might even pass Rook pretty soon if he continues his growth. And Yuga has barely really dueled that much in the series. Sure, he dueled he dueled a good amount in the beginning, and yeah, we saw him last duel in episode. What? No, it was 19. Never mind. He dueled in episode 19, so he's been a good pace of dueling, and he's just been a great character to enjoy. So I've been really impressed with Yuga, and this kind of makes Metsuboro take things more seriously. He's able to negate the last attack, or he was able to survive the last attack. He goes to his turn. He actually does summon a new ace monster in this duel, which I think was really, really cool. I didn't remember, which I will say this though, I didn't remember Yoshio getting a new ace monster. Metsuboro also got a new ace monster in this duel, and Soraku ended up playing her spells and trap cards, and when I saw her using all this, I already knew it was over. To be honest, I kind of predicted that Metsuboro was gonna win this duel, um, because I will say this though, closer to the end, I will talk about like three possible routes that this show could go. Though I will say though, I was originally going to do that. I decided to kind of look ahead because I saw that both summaries were going to come out, and I don't normally look at summaries ahead of time. I decided just to do this because I didn't know what time I was going to be able to look at the summaries for next week, because I really wanted to just read the summary, and then when the cast list comes out, I'll just read the cast list on my phone and be able to do it that way. But I will say that this arc is going to be shorter than I thought. It's the end of the arc is going to be in episode 26. However, something very interesting is happening on episode 23. I'm not going to talk about it because um obviously I don't want to spoil any what these reviews. I don't want to spoil anything ahead because that's just not the way I wanted to do my reviews. But that is something interesting that kind of ruined the three things that I was thinking of that was going to happen. It actually kind of limits down them all to the one option I think they're going to go with this show. But hey, you know what? That's okay. This is what I was thinking was going to happen anyway. So Metsuboro summons his new ace monster. In fact, Sorako even summoned her ace monster. I can't remember the names of the monsters. Their decks, they were interesting. They didn't. I don't really care about the decks, to be completely honest. I mean, they have a cool concept, but I don't know. They just didn't click with me as much. Metsuboro as a character, I guess we'll talk about him. Kind of still feel the same about Metsuboro. If you guys know, I didn't really care for the character. I think I don't know. No, Yoshio was my least favorite out of the bunch. Metsuboro has become my least favorite out of the side characters. I think he's a cool character. I think he just hasn't clicked with me yet. I just need a couple more episodes of this character. And funny enough, in the early batches of characters that we got the main four. We got the girl for Gakuto's crew. I think her name is Renza. I can't remember I think that's what her name was. And then we also got the Bile from Metsuboro. And Metsuboro has been my least favorite. I don't think he's a bad character at all. I like the other ones over. I liked Khan, Bakuro, and Yoshio. I liked Yoshio way more than I thought I originally did. I think he's like my sixth favorite character in the series, so that's pretty good for him. Making what would that make him? I think I shouldn't say it was at least, because I'm saying like I think Ren's and Renazasuke is better than him, and I think honestly he's better than those two. Those two haven't really done anything yet, but out of the big side characters, he is at the bottom for me. But I think it was pretty cool. Sorako, she was a pretty interesting. I guess she. I don't know if aliens have a gender or not. I don't know if that's a debatable topic or not. I don't even know why I should be worried about that, but that's that's the next discussion, dude. Do aliens have genders? Well, let's find out. But anyway, I think she was a pretty cool character. I think it would be awesome to see her again. From what it seems like right now, it seems like she's going to be our second one-shot character, I think. But maybe they'll do something with space. I have no idea. This show is already weird. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some space-type dueling. I really would not be surprised at that at all. We might see her again. The only character I can almost guarantee I don't think we'll see again is Schrodinger. That is the only character I don't think we'll ever see again. So that gives high hopes. I think she was a pretty cool character, but we just gotta see a little bit more of her. And at the end of this episode, because during the duel too, Roman kind of like was doing, when she was describing her as a alien, it was almost like in quotation marks, like she was an alien. Like I was doing quotation marks. Obviously, you can't see what I'm doing, but that's the kind of the way it, or at least to me, how I interpreted it, that Roman kind of didn't believe that she was an alien. She thought she was just some Goha robot or like a Neo robot, and that's what I honestly thought. But this episode proved wrong, as some yellow light came down and basically picked her up and brought her back to space, which I think was pretty. That was pretty interesting. I did not. I was not. I was surprised at that at all. We also didn't see, and you know what's kind of funny? though, and this is gonna go into kind of the topic. We haven't really the only characters we've really seen interact with Neil was Sebastian and Mimi. I don't think Geta. I know Geta did talk to Neil to get into the group, and Schrodinger had to probably do the same thing, and so did Sorako. But we haven't even really seen them have an interaction with each other. Only Sebastian and Mimi, which is kind of interesting. But I do. You know what? There's not much else to talk about it. I thought it was. I think it was not that bad of an episode. It's just like I don't think it's better than episode 20, but it did surprise me for what it was. I mean, the last couple of episodes I was before the episode 20, I wasn't really impressed with it. I was very surprised with this episode, even though this is where it's gonna go on the topic. I will say though, I am kind of a little bit disappointed in Neil's team. I will say that though. Not that I think that Neil's team was bad. It's just disappointing. Like, and maybe this is because I've watched not only just Yu-Gi-Oh, but I've kind of watched quite a bit of anime in my time, and normally I'm used to or especially in Yu-Gi-Oh, like if this was like regular Yu-Gi-Oh, they would get their 5 penalties, and then it would be the case where they have to basically duel to make sure that they don't have the penalties anymore. I will say this, no, and even though it's a spoiler, and I don't like doing that, but I think this is just for my reasoning. I think this penalty that they got is the only penalty that we will get throughout the entire series. I think this fluke penalty might add, because it wasn't like Neil's team won that duel last episode. Mimi lost that duel, which was part of team Neil, but as Neil's robots did call her, she was kind of part of Team Yuga as well, based off of data, so that's why they got the penalty. But that's the thing, though. Neil's team has not won a single duel, and I don't think Neil's team is going to win a duel. And that kind of sucks. I'm going to be completely honest. I would have rather had Mimi win that duel against Yoshio than to just have Neil's team do nothing. Not only does that grow, because I don't think that would hurt Yoshio at all, because now he has this thing of wanting to become, or he wants his own road to be able to do what he wants to do in the future. Basically, he wants to create his own path towards the future, and I feel like you can still do that with him losing. I just think Neil's team needed to get a win in somewhere. I don't think Yuga losing would make any sense. I think maybe Rook could have. No, Rook couldn't have. See, they put in the beginning situations like it didn't feel like they had to lose. Honestly, the only duels that I think you can make pretty good arguments of ways for them to lose was these last two duels. Those were the only ones. Maybe I could argue, what was episode 8? Oh no, 18 was the Geta duel. What? Oh, I was thinking of the Aria Rada duel, but no, that one made sense. Those were the only two losses, and yeah, that's two losses, but that 2 losses is better than one fluke. I'm gonna be completely honest, but that's just my opinion. I still like Neil as a character. At least think the characters were pretty interesting, except Schrodinger. I didn't really care for Schrodinger at all. Geta was interesting. Sebastian was surprisingly interesting. Soraka was interesting, and well, Mimi I already thought was interesting. So at least the characters I were interested. I'm really glad of that. They did accomplish me with that. But that is going to really be it for this. There's not really much to talk about in this. I can't wait for the next episode. It's going to be a pretty interesting duel. I will say, though, I was not suspecting at all, to be completely honest, but we're just going to have to see what happens. But guys, that is going to be it for this episode review. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought of this episode. Also, I want to thank all the people that did give me video ideas and video topics. I'm not going to do those right now. I originally was planning on doing them on last Sunday, but I decided to hold on them for just a little bit, just because I want to kind of get some research into these video ideas before I do in a video, because I want to make sure that these videos are at least more than 5 minutes. I mean, these videos deserve to be explained pretty well, and I need to do some research on some of these. And I will hopefully have something up for Halloween as well. There was a video topic for that, so hopefully I can get that out by Halloween. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, Take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.